Hey, this is Joscho, and the song that you hear in the back is my version of In My Life by the Beatles. I always wanted to produce an album just with Beatles songs, but because of my touring schedule, there was simply no space to realize this project. So when the lockdown started in March 2020, I thought, now is the right time to start the recordings, and 6 weeks later, the whole thing was completed. The album was released in May 2020, and since that time I received a lot of questions from you. So I want to answer a few of them here in this video. I think that was the most asked question, and if I remember right, I had 3 songs in mind that I wanted to record. First one was, of course, In My Life. Before I started the recordings, I put a little snippet on YouTube. And the other 2 compositions were songs by George Harrison, I Want to Tell You and While My Guitar Gently Weeps. To be honest, I never recorded I Want to Tell You, I forgot about that song, but I did Gently Weeps. I played most of the instruments by myself, so the whole process was different than recording, of course, an album with my trio, for example. When I did my last recording, Paris Berlin, with Sven Ljungberg on rhythm guitar and Volker Kamp on double bass, we did it direct to disc. So Paris Berlin was recorded in real time. Get Back to the Beatles is a more produced album, so I started with rhythm guitar and bass, but the arrangement of a song changed several times while recording the rest of the instruments. So I did it like Steely Dan. After I finished the arrangement, I started to record the full song again, this time with the final arrangement. So now the exciting part for all the guitar and bass players at home. Let's talk about the equipment. Most of all, I used my Jürgen Volker D-hole guitar and a well-known instrument for Beatles music, a Höfner violin bass. A 63 replica model of the original bass that Paul McCartney played in the 60s. And I think this is the sound that you really expect if you listen to a Beatles album or tribute album. The next one is also a really iconic instrument. It's a Gretsch 6120. I got a blue 6120 model. I bought it a few years ago in Nashville at the Chet Atkins convention, and I was playing there with my trio and played together also with Richard Smith and Tommy Emmanuel several times on this great festival. So I got a lot of memories about this festival always when I pick up this great guitar. But of course, it's not just the Chet Atkins sound, it's also George Harrison that you really can hear if you pick this guitar. There are a lot of pictures where you can see Paul with the Höfner bass and George with a Gretsch guitar, but it's still a well-kept secret that John and George played Fender Stratocaster guitars, for example on the Help or Rubber Soul LPs. There are just a few pictures of them where you can see both with their sonic blue Strats. I was lucky enough to find a Strat with the same color that I used also on the album. So this is the Fender in Sonic Blue, the Stratocaster that I play on some of the songs. I think it's about 10 years old, but I use also another Fender Strat on the recordings. And this one is from 1976, and you know, this is really a musician's guitar because nothing is original on that one. So that means one of the pickups is from 1969, I think the next one also, and the last one is from 82. The neck is from a different year, but you know, the sound of this instrument is great. So the next guitar has a very emotional value for me. It is a Gibson Les Paul custom guitar that I got when I was 13 years old as a Christmas gift. and it was before I really found out who was Django Reinhardt. So I was playing Santana and Gary Moore stuff back then, and of course I wanted to use also this guitar for the Beatles project, because George Harrison received a Gibson Les Paul in the 60s, in the late 60s, by his great friend Eric Clapton, the legendary Lucy in red, and so George Harrison played a lot of Les Pauls and also Stratocasters, like I told you before, on the Beatles recordings. And yeah, I used of course the Les Paul on Things We Said Today and While My Guitar Gently Weeps. So this is a low-budget Rickenbacker 12-string copy, and of course I needed this George Harrison twangy sound that he presented on the A Hard Day's Night LP on 2 songs, and I just used this cheap model. I think the playability is really good, sound is good, but the tuners were really bad, so I just changed them. Of course this is not an instrument that I would use on stage, but for some studio work it's really cool. It's fine to use also one of the cheaper instruments. And there is another instrument that I borrowed, so this is also low budget but really good quality instrument. It's a Sire jazz bass copy. I think it's a Marcus Miller edition, and I really like that one too. Last but not least, I used this cymbal here with no sound, but with the right EQ even this sounds very good. My good buddy Markus Schinkel added piano and organ to some of the songs. I think this is also a typical Beatles instrument. McCartney and Lennon played often piano back in the studio, so Markus was my first choice to do that part on my record. Percussion I played mostly by myself, but my skills are very limited, so I asked Philip Kukulus to add some serious percussion on a few tracks, and of course he did a great job too. Last but not least, my longtime partner in crime, Volker Kamp, who's playing double bass in my Gypsy Swing trio, is also a guest on the Beatles tribute. He's featured with his double bass on 2 songs, and believe me or not, he's not just playing flugelhorn on Norwegian Wood. Now is the time that he can show another of his uncountable talents to the world. Ladies and gentlemen, Volker Kamp on sitar. Yes, of course, just click here at the info card and you will find another video with a lot of interesting recording insights. Definitely, it was so much fun to record the songs that I was a bit sad when I finished the album. I don't know yet a release date for a second Beatles tribute, but Paul McCartney released his album McCartney 3 40 years after McCartney 2. I think I will be definitely faster. So if you want to be informed about future plans, just subscribe to my channel and click the notification bell, then you will be up to date all the time.